I was very fortunate. You figure that was the late 80s. I graduated from law school in 90. But in the late 80s, I was doing a lot of summer interns. And so I had a long list of job opportunities, but I made the decision to go back to Phoenix and practice for one of the top firms there. And it was during really just serendipity, a chance encounter, that one of the law firms that I had interviewed at told me that there was a man in Chicago by the name of Mike Slive, and that I should call him because he was a sports lawyer and they knew I was interested in sports. So I called Mike and introduced myself and told him Bill Jones had asked me to call, and he said, look, I'm busy, I'm in the middle of a bunch of cases, but if you can drive up from Notre Dame to Chicago, I'll have breakfast with you next Saturday. So I got my little small 1982 Toyota Corolla with 125,000 miles on it, little bicycle tires, and drove up to made sure I had enough money in my account so I could treat him for breakfast, and drove up to Chicago. And because he had told me originally I got literally enough for a cup of coffee, 30 minutes or so, and we ended up meeting for about an hour and a half, and I knew something was special. So I called my firm, and then that's when I really understood one of the first times of what, when people care about you, they want the best for you. And the managing partner of the firm said, that's outstanding. We'll defer your acceptance here. You get a chance to go work with Mike Slive in sports right out of law school. You have to do it. Mike actually moved his practice from Chicago to Overland Park, Kansas. And I asked myself, why? I thought I was going to go work for this cool firm in Chicago with Mike Slive, and now he's at Overland Park, Kansas. It's a little bit different. Still excited, but it's different. The older I've gotten and the more that I live, I stop asking why. Well, the why was because that's where my wife Greta was living at the time, and never would have met her and have the beautiful kids that I have and a great relationship that we have. And so after I worked with him, I then continued my career, desperately wanted to be a sports agent, and went and started my own sports agency. I had high expectations, but my business grew quicker than probably my business plan was. And so I had a decision to make. Either I was going to be a sports agent for the next 20, 30 years, or I was going to do what I really wanted to do, what I'm passionate about, and that is to get in management in the NFL. A friend of mine who was at the Chiefs introduced me to Dick Vermeil. He said, you guys would really like each other. And I flew to St. Louis, kind of like the Mike Slive meeting, sat down, and he said, I'd love for you to work with me here, probably overqualified, but love to have you. And we were able to work it out. And I started with the Rams in 1997, and we were 5-11, 4-12, and then third year magic happened. We won the Super Bowl in 1999, which is the greatest show on turf. And that really propelled my career from there on to Detroit for a couple of years, back into private practice in Greenberg Traurig, and ended up getting an opportunity to work on the Vikings deal, and so organized this group with the Will family, Landis family, Mandelbaum family, Fowler families, to pull this group together to buy the Minnesota Vikings in 2005, and moved here with my wife and two little kids at that time, and been here ever since and love every minute of it.
So you worked on the deal to buy the Vikings?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I was at the first meeting on April 9th of 2004. Denny Green, the late great Denny Green, called me and said there's going to be a meeting at the Phoenician Hotel in Phoenix, Arizona. And you should show up because there's going to be some people there talking about buying the Vikings. So I said, great. One thing, Coach Green, if you knew him, he was so positive, he forgot to tell me that he wanted me to present to the group of the process to buy a team. And so I went there as a listener, and then I became an active talker. And it was out of that Reggie Fowler called me, and I had never met him before. And then I had a dear friend, Jim Stapleton, who had a college roommate at Michigan, who had worked on a deal with Alan Landis years before. And so he called Alan Landis and set up a meeting in New York. And I flew to New York and met with Alan Landis and David Mandelbaum, and they invited a couple people from the Will family, and I presented the deal. That Red McComb was selling it, and here's the price, and that's where it was born, and really in November of 2004. And I still have my notes from that first meeting, and the rest is history. That's how it all came together. So that's why I have such a different feel and a sense of responsibility for the Vikings, because this is just not a job to me. I just felt like this was a seed that I was able to unearth, to plant and water it and get sunlight and take care of it and cultivate it, and then it's come out of the ground. So all of these different things that have happened sitting here in this incredible studio at Twin Cities Orthopedics Performance Center, and all the development that we have here in US Bank Stadium. This is much more than a job. This is something that's at my core that's really important to me. That's why I so badly want to win a world championship here.
For somebody who's not a leader today and thinking about getting into leadership, what advice do you have?
I think a true leader, which I, try to be, and then I would encourage people who are either getting in leadership positions or young people who aspire to be leaders, is you really have to take care of the front and the back. So many leaders take care of the front, but things can happen in the back, or so many leaders take care of the back and things can happen in the front. But the only way you can take care of the front and the back is you got to know the front and the back. And so you need to be incredibly prepared, the most passionate, put in the most hours, the most hardworking, have the biggest vision. So, you just don't have to have a title. There are a lot of people who have the title but aren't leaders. And there are a lot of leaders who don't have titles. And so I encourage everyone here to make sure that you lead from wherever you are, whether you're in the front of the pack, the back of the pack, the middle of the pack, or waiting to get in the pack, you can still lead. And when you have that opportunity, but it's really about encouragement, and it's about building an environment. I'm big into culture, to build an environment that I want people to work out and in an environment that's nirvana to them. And if you can build an environment when everyone feels comfortable to come up with ideas and you support them and encourage them, then it becomes magic. And you can tell people have made a lot of magic here.